Imagine you're the US government. China's economy, military, and tech industry are growing faster than your national debt. You need to stop them. Without nukes, without war, and without admitting you're scared. So what do?
First, I slap a tariff on their nukes, 25%, unless they come in Hello Kitty wrapping paper.
Sir, this could destabilize the entire...
Quiet, nerd. I already called it Civil War II Electric Boogaloo. Melania's designing the uniforms, made in China, of course.
So how is the US planning to body slam China? Well, with 4 main moves. Think of it as a containment cocktail. Let's start with move 1, the frontline knights, Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines. Japan isn't just an ally, it's the US's most forward deployed chess piece. As of June 2024, the US has about 55,000 troops stationed in Japan, the largest American military presence anywhere outside the US. According to the Foreign Ministry of Japan, the US has 2,600 in the Army, 20,000 in the Navy, 12,600 in the Air Force, and 19,600 in the Marines. Throw in missile systems, F-35s, and a network of nuclear submarines, and Japan becomes a launchpad for anything China-related. South Korea hosts nearly 30,000 US troops, has a military on constant red alert thanks to North Korea's fireworks addiction, and also happens to be home to Samsung, a company so important to the chip race that USA probably sends it Valentine's cards.
Roses are red, missiles are blue. Please build a fab. We're nothing without you.
Do you want it next to the cactus or the missile silo?
As for the Philippines, America's former colony and current military Airbnb, things were rocky for a while. A lot of mixed signals, weird vibes, and just a sprinkle of post-colonial baggage.
Are we broken up or just on a break?
That depends. Are you still mad about the waterboarding?
In 2014, they signed the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, which in legal terms basically means...
It's Netflix and no chill, but with guns. Subscribe to Brain of Salt, the only channel where you can laugh through the collapse of US foreign policy.
This channel is definitely not funny. Fake jokes, sad comedy.
So because building permanent bases would be colonialism, and US is not doing that again, well, publicly, now the US is just crashing on the Philippines' military couch, eating their food, leaving drones in the sink, and muttering,
I swear I'll be out by Tuesday. It's just China's being super mean again.
At this point, the US has keys to 9 military sites across the Philippines.
First base we have...
Wait, please don't butcher the names.
Too late. Antonio Bautista Air Base, great for sunsets and missile strikes. Baza Air Base, Fort Magsaysay, Lambia Airfield, ideal for launching jets and getting food poisoning from roadside lechon. Naval Base Camilo Ozayas, Camp Melchor de la Cruz, Lalo Airport, Benito Ebuyan Air Base, Balabac Island, strategic, scenic, and allegedly 3 minutes from the nearest massage parlor with happy ending.
You butchered every single one.
Yeah, I do that. Just ask the Constitution, or Stormy, or Puerto Rico, or democracy.
All of them are strategically placed for rapid response, especially if something goes down near Taiwan or the South China Sea. Which means one thing for Beijing, a major headache. Because now the US doesn't just pressure China from the east via Japan, it can sneak in from the south too. Move 2. The biggest overachiever in the Pacific, Australia. A country so far from China, you'd think it'd be too busy wrestling kangaroos and exporting anxiety-ridden actors to care about global conflict.
We are pleased.
Oi, they said Australia, you decorative snow globe.
So yeah, Australia joined AUKUS, the ultimate we're serious club with the US and UK, also known as 3 white guys and a war plan. They're getting nuclear-powered submarines, hypersonic missiles, and tech so advanced even Elon Musk would call it a bit much.
Leave me out of this. I left Doge. I write Doge. You get it? Left, right?
So why Australia? Because it's safe. Like not to keep you safe, but to keep our nukes safe. It's out of China's immediate missile range, unlike Japan or the Philippines, who basically live next door to the final boss. It's got room. Big, open, terrifying nothingness. Perfect for US bombers, radar stations, and top secret Pentagon PowerPoints with names like Wombat Whisperer. And let's be real, if Japan is the sword, Australia is the shield. And also the beer cooler, the panic room, and the getaway car.
And what am I?
You're my military Airbnb.
Move 3, the Quad. It's not NATO, but definitely a group chat. No, not that kind.
Oh, move on already.
So the Quad consists of 4 countries, US, India, Japan, and Australia. It's not military alliance, it's more like a strategic book club that meets to talk about shared values. Oh, who am I kidding? Their main goal is to stop China from turning the Pacific into a monopoly board. But the Quad isn't about fighting. It's about reminding China
that we just want to enjoy spicy food.
On an aircraft carrier.
That anime is so cute.
Cuter if they were holding missiles.
I got beer mates and sunscreen.
Same, plus nuclear submarines.
And finally, move 4, the island game. The US is doubling down on what it calls archipelagic defense, which sounds fancy but really means
We turned a bunch of small islands into missile platforms.
Palau, Guam, and Micronesia, they're not just beach spots anymore. They're launch pads, radar outposts, and landing strips for freedom. But here's the catch. Not everyone wants to play WWE. Indonesia, for example, is vibing with everyone like the chill kid who just wants to DJ the party. Vietnam is beefing with China but still doing business.
Well, we hate them, but business is business.
Malaysia is so vague they might be trying to invent quantum diplomacy. Thailand is flirting with everyone and ghosting whoever gets too clingy. And the Pacific Islands flirting with both China and the US. Why this all matters? Because every swing country is a puzzle piece. Put enough together and you control the airspace, sea lanes, and digital cables of the future. Because if you can't stop China from spreading, at least convince the neighbors to stop letting them crash on the couch.
Nice strategy. Shame if someone ignored it.
But the real war isn't happening on land or sea. It's happening inside your fridge, your car, your phone, and probably your AI-generated boyfriend. And before we dive deeper into how the US is trying to suplex China, I already broke down the other half of the story in China's 2025 to-do list, Global Domination Before Brunch. So if you want the full deep dive on how China is trying to win the global domination, go check that out first.
Don't send them there.
Too late. They're already clicking.
Oh, never mind. With that viewership, you can send them to Mars with Elon if you want. Which is never.
Ah, well, please like and subscribe so the fortunes change.
So how far behind is China really? Well, China managed to produce a 7 nanometer chip in 2023. But the world already heading to 3 nanometers. That's the tech equivalent of showing up to a Formula 1 race in a really well-polished golf cart.
It's a nice golf cart.
Yeah, but we're driving invisibility tanks now.
In 2025, China pulled off something wild in chip making. They built tiny, powerful computer chips called 5 nanometer chips, without using the most advanced tools that everyone else relies on. Normally, to make these chips, you need a machine called EUV lithography. It's like a super fancy laser printer that can draw tiny circuits on a chip with extreme precision. But because of expert bans, China wasn't allowed to buy those machines. So what did they do? They used older and clunkier machines called DUV. Kind of like trying to draw a super detailed comic book using a thick marker instead of a fine pen. To make it work, they used a trick called self-aligned quadruple patterning, which basically means they drew the same lines over and over again in layers to make them super small and detailed. However, this workaround comes with significant drawbacks. SMIC's 5 nanometer wafer yields are reported to be only about 30% of TSMC's yields on the same process technology. The cost of SMIC's 5 nanometer wafers could be as much as 50% higher than those produced by TSMC, primarily due to the complexities of using DUV instead of EUV. So while China has made impressive strides, the efficiency and cost effectiveness of their 5 nanometer chip production still lag behind industry leaders. So when does China catch up? The optimistic Chinese government estimate is by 2030. The Western estimate? Maybe 2035, if the US stops tightening restrictions. And that's a big if, because every time China gets close to a breakthrough, the US doesn't just move the goalposts.
I will set the field on fire and change the sport from wrestling to underwater chess wrestling.
So why this 10-year lag a strategic goal for the US? Well, because China can't field AI as fast at scale. Their hypersonic weapon systems remain partially bottlenecked. Their entire surveillance export model slows down. And their economy becomes more vulnerable to chip-related pressure. It's like taking the batteries out of your friend's toy robot and they act like nothing's wrong while trying to power it with a spaghetti noodle and hope. Based on current trajectories and expert analysis, including from the Semiconductor Industry Association and Boston Consulting Group, China is determined to close the gap. But the timeline for achieving parity with the US remains uncertain and is heavily influenced by geopolitical and economic factors.
We're not behind. We're exploring alternate performance timelines.
So after arming island chains, banning Huawei, and bribing the Pacific with boats, America decides to make one big bold bet. India. Why India? Because from Washington's perspective, India checks every box.
Borders China? Check. Hates China? Check. Has a population to match China? Check. Doesn't have a TikTok? Check.
So is India Team US? Not exactly. But when it comes to checking China's power, they don't have to wear the jersey. They just have to show up.
We're not Team US. where team don't let China breathe.
Because when your best strategy is outsourcing your enemy's containment to a country that can't even agree on a movie rating system, you know the duct tape is running thin. So, what do you think? Can the US really contain a country like China? Or will the duct tape peel off and reality smack America in the face? Will alliances like the Quad or AUKUS actually deter conflict? Or just draw more countries into it? Is the chip war a masterstroke of tech dominance? Or a slow burn trade war that backfires on everyone? Please let us know what you think in the comments.